From candidates to analysis now. We're joined by Democrat Steve Marchand and Republican Steve Negron. They know a lot about the final days before a primary, having both run in statewide contests. Gentlemen, thank you for being here this morning. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Absolutely.
So one of the big headlines right now that we talked about with Governor Haley there is her decision not to participate in the debate. You know, obviously we were going to be involved in that. There's a lot of attention for people who love the primary. But do you think this will have an impact on the broader electorate? Start with you, Steve.
I do. Yesterday, a couple of our friends of ours, Republican operative friends from the Midwest, came to experience the primary. One of the events we went to was a Nikki Haley event in Keene. She asked, who here has seen me before? Less than a quarter of the crowd of more than 250 people raised their hand. I mean, almost everybody, this was the first time. The debate and the culture of New Hampshire around the debate provide an outsized opportunity for people to get that first look. And I think a lot of candidates, perhaps including Governor Haley, maybe underestimate how much impact it can make for people that are making a decision very late in the process.
Yeah, maybe for her strategy, she thought this was right for her, but this is a chance to be big on that stage, isn't it, Steve?
Well, absolutely. And I think one of the things people forget is that debates aren't for the candidates. Debates are for the people that are looking at what the candidates are bringing to the table. And when you look at Governor Haley and her strategy of what she needs to do in New Hampshire, look, the Republican base, we know where they're going with, right? And 40% of voters in New Hampshire are undeclared. So that's the people she needs to get at. And when you minimize that by not having a participation in a debate, I think it hurts her chances significantly.
And Steve Negron, you know, as we have the time ticking down here with just potentially Nikki Haley in that 10 to 12 range, does she need to get within single digits to plausibly say I've punched my ticket onto South Carolina? Absolutely.
Anything else than that, you know, look what happened in Iowa, right? It's just like Steve and I were talking off in the green room. You know, if you're the world champ, right, you got to fight your way all the way up to get a shot at the title, right? And you got to do everything to do that, and you got to get close enough to have a puncher's chance. Right, and if you're not within single digits, I don't think you have a puncher's chance here.
What do you think about that, Steve?
Completely agree. I mean, she may have to win in order to avoid a pretty quick demise at the end of the campaign. And you know, Ron DeSantis thinking that he can skip New Hampshire and just go to the next one. The trail is strewn with people who thought they could wait till late February or March to get this ball rolling that never even made it to there.
Yeah, these candidates very often underestimate just how huge Iowa and New Hampshire become in these 2 weeks to their ultimate fate. Steve, what are realistic expectations for the write-in Biden campaign on Tuesday?
So, full disclosure, I'm a lifelong Democrat, and I'm extremely frustrated about it. I'm disappointed with how President Biden handled this, very disappointed with the DNC and some of the language they've used, including about the debates and everything. This is important. It still matters. We will be first in 2028, and we will be impactful going forward. I've been doing this for 40 years from a child, and this is a big deal for the candidates. That said, the honest answer is nobody really knows. Barack Obama ran unopposed as a popular within his party incumbent in 2012 with no opposition on the ballot and got 81%. Bill Clinton in 1996 was about 84%. So we know that even in those scenarios, you're not going to get to 80. We also know that LBJ wasn't on the ballot, but had the full support of the Democrats in the federal delegation, Governor King and so forth, and he couldn't get to 50. So we're trying to figure out where the lines are. Look, if he wins, that's obviously the minimum. To not win would be a big problem for President Biden. I would expect him to get a majority of the vote, but to expect him to get something, say, north of 70% or more would be a historic anomaly because he's simply not on the ballot. As frustrating as that is the reality. And I'm more interested in seeing what percentage of people don't vote for him, because there are many ways people could go other than writing him in.
And 30 seconds for you, Steve. Republicans have been licking their chops here. They think this is a real opportunity to grow the party and go into Democratic turf.
Absolutely. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're people who want to be taken seriously. When you have a sitting president that decides that your state is not important to participate in, I don't know what the long-lasting effect is, but it's going to have an effect.
All right, Steve and Steve, we'll see you back later in the show to fill some time that Ron DeSantis gave up. We'll check in with you later.